Howdy, folks. Greyhawk 4x4 coming at you again, your resident vintage gamer. It is Thursday night gaming chat, and we are live. Cheers. I had to wait till I heard the wife upstairs because she was coming home from work, and I'm like, once I can hear her banging around up there, I'm like, okay, I can pop a beer. And the reason I do that is on the off weird chance that she breaks down or has a problem or whatever when she's coming home from work or whatever, I need to be fully ready and able to get in the truck and go do a rescue if if that kind of thing happens. And if I've been drinking, that complicates things because I don't drink and drive. So anyway, so I usually wait till she gets home, and luckily timing just worked out. So we're having another one of our beers. We'll talk about this in a minute. We're having another one of ours out of that Christmas pack that I bought. But there you are, Chupa. Happy wife, happy life. Exactly right. Got it. She's officially the breadwinner now that I'm retired. She's the one. So yeah, she is priority. So anyway, we're going to talk about a couple different things today. There's a couple little things that happen gaming news wise and all that. We'll talk about that stuff. And I grabbed this at the last second because I forgot. I was like, oh, I need to have something to unbox or something like that. And it was the closest thing on my shelf over there. It's a board game that I bought when I was in Germany, when I lived in Germany, by Ravensburger, and it's called Journey Through Europe. And it's I think it's kind of supposed to be a kid's game, but it's actually a pretty fun game. And I'll go into the story about that, the backstory of that, and we'll open it up. See, I haven't opened this box since I left Germany. I don't think I've played it since I came back, so that's over 30 years ago. So probably need to rectify that. But anyway, we'll go through that, and we'll talk about. I've been playing a little bit of a Chernobyl Light is one of the games I picked up on the Steam sale. We'll talk a little bit about that. So forth and so on, and then whatever you guys want to talk about over in the chat. So I know tonight's Thursday night, so there's a football game on it, and I know my defense for my fantasy football in New Orleans is playing. I just don't know who they're playing. So if it happens to be the Giants or let's see, the Giants or the Bears, I'm trying to think who else my viewers root for. So this one is this one's called Kerp Faults is how and whether or not that's probably inverted for you guys. Maybe you guys can read it, maybe you can't. But it's Kerp Faults Brow or Bra, as I learned that in Germany when I was there. You know how we have Lowenbrow, what we say Lowenbrow over here, and my dad and I were in Munich, München, as it's supposed to be said. We were in München, and Cowboys Saints, okay. And we were in a little Gast house there. And of course, that's Lowenbrow is from Munich. That's where they brew it. And so there was all these signs, and even the coasters had the logo on them with the lion and all that. And so when we ordered, I said, Zwei Lowenbrow, bitte. And the waitress looked at me weird, or the bartender, whoever it was. And I said, Lowenbrow. And they said, and I pointed at the coaster or something, and they said, Löwenbräu. They say it, Löwenbräu. Over here, we say Lowenbrow, and that is completely wrong. It's Löwenbräu. And so I know that is bra in German. So this is a Keller beer, which is basically their lager. And I looked this up on Beer Advocate. 84 out of 100 is the ratings on this. And it's pretty good. It's not as good as the last one that I had. That last one I had was so good I had to do a TikTok about it. So, and that actually, I got, I did okay on TikTok. Yeah, this one's good. It's got, it's almost as good. It's got a little bit of a, it's got a little bit of a little aftertaste punch to it, but that's good. Nothing wrong with that. So, uh, let's see. So, Cowboys Saints. Well, I'm not a Cowboys fan. I lived in Dallas for a while. Not a Cowboys fan, so I'm more of a those two. I'm more of a Saints fan, so I would be rooting for the Saints there. Um, so anyway, I thought we'd go through this guy tonight. This is called Journey Through Europe. It says a travel games of strategy and planning for all the family. Now, because Ravensburger is a German company, this is like the English version. So the wording is a little, for all the family. We don't say that. We would say for the whole family is what we would say, you know. But let's see here. Now, hopefully this isn't. It is taped on one side, but let's see here. So, well, let me tell the backstory first. So, my dad came over to visit. So we're talking about my first wife and I over in Germany. I got married when I was in the Army. When I was in Oklahoma, we ended up I got sent to Germany for 3 years. My first wife went with me. And while I was there, my dad saved up the money to get airfare to go over and visit. I had my BMW, a used BMW, mind you. It was about 10 years old when I got a 79 BMW 525. And so it was a sedan. And so he comes over and we decide, hey, I think I had 2 weeks leave while he was there. So we're like, let's just get in the car and let's just go. Let's just go do some, traveling. Let's just explore, right? Now, difficulty meter or difficulty rating, DC, was we were all fucking broke. I was broke. I got stray hair there. Yeah, I got to tighten this shit up. But we decided, well, what we can do is we bought a cooler, and I think I still own it. It's all beat to hell now, but I still have it. I think the lid's busted off of it, but for some reason I've still got it, and it fit in the trunk of the BMW and still had other room for other stuff. And so it was the three of us inside, but then had room for this big cooler, and it had a shelf, it had a cool shelf inside, so that you could put stuff you want to keep dry, keep out of the ice, but still keep it cold, like a little refrigerator. So we put lunch meat and cheese, and I'm talking about the good German stuff, the German cheese, the German lunch meat, Fleischwurst, Fleisch, as they would call it, Metzwurst, whatever all the terms were. And I think we had like pickles in there, and we had beer and sodas and everything else. And our idea was we would just stop, because the rest stops in Germany are fantastic. They're like full service rest stops with like places if you want to throw it down a tent, picnic tables, nice bathrooms, the whole bit, right? So we decided we'll just do that, and we'll just make sandwiches and stuff, and we'll just sleep in the car, and then like every couple of nights we'll get a hotel room so we can, hey, Bastille, so that we can take a shower and all that stuff. But we won't have to, that way we don't have to stay in a hotel every single night, because we were all broke. My first wife didn't work. I was a soldier, and they don't pay U.S. soldiers very much. And my dad was retired, so he was on a fixed income. So, but we made the best of it. Now think about this: no cell phones of any kind. They weren't even a thing yet. There were car phones that were like part of your car that you could get installed, but not cell phones. And to get a car phone was extremely expensive. It was like for executives and shit. So we decide now. I didn't need a passport. This is the weird thing. This is the cool thing about story times. You learn all these cool little things. So as a member of the U.S. military in Germany at that time, all of the NATO countries had kind of an agreement, and as long as you had paperwork from your headquarters, and I got it was a thing about European travel, and it had all these boxes for all the different countries. They asked me, they said at HQ, they're like, well, what countries are you guys going to go into? And I said, I don't know. I said, we're just going to go drive through Europe, and then come back when we're ready. So they marked all the boxes, Netherlands, Austria, Switzerland, Spain, Italy, everything, right? All the NATO countries. Oh, that's wonderful. So let's see if we can't. Let's see. Let's get rid of that first. Oh, thanks, Bastille. You're already on top of it, man. Appreciate that. Yeah, right on. See, I got a moderator in here, and it worked out perfectly. That's the first time we've ever had to test that out. Thanks, Bastille. This is for you, man. So had all the boxes checked. We're like, let's just go. So we got in the car, loaded up the cooler, off we went. And we went through, let's see if I can even remember them all. We drove through Belgium, Luxembourg, Liechtenstein, which is a little tiny country between Switzerland and Austria, the Netherlands, Switzerland, Austria, the whole bottom part of Germany, and I'm probably forgetting some. I can't remember where else, but so we did that big trip, and then at the very end of it, we were going through Darmstadt, which is down from where we were in Aschaffenburg, and there was a game, just happened to be a game store there, and we bought this because we're like, how cool would it be to play this game now, this Journey Through Europe? For those of you that came in late, I'm looking at Journey Through Europe is the name of the game. And I said, how cool would it be? We'll get that. And then we can, as we're playing it, we'll see all the different cities that we've been through on this trip while we're playing this game. And so that's what we did. So they give you a big ass, I don't know, this is a pretty big board here. And they give you a big map of Europe. Let's see if I can do this here. So they give you a nice big map of Europe. And it's got all the travel routes and all that stuff on it. And then you, of course, had there's a shit ton of cards in here. So you have cards for like every city in Europe and everything. And it's got little, let's see if I can find one here. There's Berlin. We didn't go through Berlin because Berlin, that was still before the wall fell. So we definitely didn't go to Berlin. We went through Hamburg. So they got little pictures on them and stuff like that. And the idea of the game was, if I remember correctly, so you had flight plans and shit like that. And then, of course, the idea was, I think, was to see who could finish whatever their plan was in a certain amount of time and all that. And it's a fun game. Especially any of you that do have families out there with kids and stuff like that. This is definitely a kid-friendly game. And it's, educational and all that. But it was just kind of fun because we had just traveled through all the, Zurich and Innsbruck and Bastogne, Belgium, and Copenhagen and Stuttgart and I'm forgetting half the fucking places. Vaduz is in Liechtenstein, that little teeny tiny country. Vaduz is the capital. It's like it's a teeny tiny little country. Went through there. But anyway, so that's the backstory on it, why we even bought the thing. But now that I'm going through it again, it would be fun to, you gotta have probably like 4 people if you want to play it, but I think the wife and I might, when we have a dinner, a cocktail thing over here, when we have some people over, we bust it out and see if anybody wants to play or whatever. So anyway, that was the show and tell portion of the day, because it was a last minute thing and I just grabbed it off the shelf because it was the closest thing. So there you go. Chupa, Luxembourg was great. They told us women outnumbered men 3-1. So Chupa, when remind me, I think you and I said we were kind of overlapped a little bit in the 80s that we were in Europe at the same time. I don't remember the exact years, because it'd be interesting to know if you were there when the Deutschmark was still like 4 Deutschmarks to the dollar. So another little piece of story time here. When I got there, it was like 1.8 Deutschmarks to the dollar was the exchange rate. And the guys that had been there for a while were telling us newbies all these crazy stories about when it was 4 marks to the dollar. And like they could go buy like a legit Mercedes or something because it was 4 Deutschmarks to the dollar. And some of them had Mercedes and stuff like that. And of course, it had dove by the time I got there. But they were like saying it was just like a glorious time to be stationed in Germany was when it was 4 Deutschmarks to the dollar. You can imagine. I mean, they partied their asses off. Um, so that takes care of the show and tell. Um, we're having a nice ice cold beer. Anybody got any questions here? Because we're going to get into. I want to get into the some gaming news. I never played Titanfall, but apparently Titanfall yesterday, I think it was, got removed. EA took it from. They just removed it. It's no longer for sale. You can't buy it anywhere unless if you already own it, you're good. But I never owned it, never played it. But apparently, and we'll get to it in a second here. Gotta keep lubricated here. But apparently, the problem was that hackers and trolls, etc. Hey, Steelguard, how are you? So apparently, hackers and trolls and all that kept on doing DDoS attacks on the Titanfall servers and everything, and they basically got tired of fighting it, and they essentially let the hackers and everybody win because they just pulled Titanfall. They shut down the servers and they pulled it off. It's no longer for sale. There's still Titanfall 2. I never played either one of them. I didn't have an interest in playing them. It wasn't my style of game. It was like pure multiplayer only, right? So it wasn't that's why it never appealed to me. But I thought it was interesting because I don't remember ever seeing a game or game company that allowed like hackers doing DDoS attacks and shit like that to actually win. Now, yes, it's an old title and so forth, but I just don't remember. Now, correct me if there's anybody in here that says there's 6 of you in here. So if any of you remember anything like that, hey, Colin, how are you, man? So if any of you remember that happening before, I would love to refresh my memory because that's the first time I've seen them just basically give in to the hackers. You know, it was, and that's not a good thing because it just it's just gonna embolden the shitheads to keep doing that kind of stuff. Yeah, it's kind of like this shithead that came in here and started spamming all the racist crap and all that shit, and Bastille, because he's one of my moderators, he knocked it out. But yeah, it's like same thing with that. It's like if they get emboldened and they think that they can get away with it, then it just emboldens them to keep doing it. Well, that's what happened with Titanfall. And I'm afraid now that if the wrong person from the wrong company says the wrong thing to piss off somebody and they decide, hey, Oscar, Titanfall 2 is awesome. It has co-op horde mode and a great single player. So Titanfall 2 does have a single player campaign. I did not know that. You just taught me something. But now, if you know for one way or another, Mr. Oscruit or Ms. Oscruit, I don't remember if you're male or female, but remind me if Titanfall had a single player campaign, because I was under the impression it did not, that it was strictly multiplayer. So, yeah, because what's to say they're not going to go after Titanfall 2 now? If they successfully did their DDoS shit to the point where EA just said to hell with it and threw in the towel and just took the game offline, quit selling it, everything. What's to say they're not going to do the same shit with Titanfall 2 now? Who's going to say they don't see that as some kind of challenge to just do the same thing? So, if anybody has anything to add for that, please put it in there. We'll talk about it. Otherwise, I'm going to continue on to my next topic that I wanted to talk about. So, Chernobyl Light, the game. When I was looking at it on Steam, I did not truly. So Titanfall did not. Okay, thank you for clarifying that. That's what I thought. Um, so when I first saw it, and I was reading about it, the description and all that, I kind of missed, I guess, the whole thing that it's considered a survival game. I thought it was more of a detective investigative type game where, I mean, it's first person shooter, but I thought it was more about going through and investigating some hidden mystery behind Chernobyl and all this stuff. And as I got in there, uh, they immediately want you to build, you go through the tutorial and then they want you to build a base, which is cool because I'm all about the base building stuff, like a la Fallout 4. Um, and then you have like a mission board. You have people in your team, and you can send people off on missions and stuff like that. And then you can go on missions. But I kind of guess I didn't understand and it's I'm enjoying it and I'm enjoying the aesthetic of it, um, and all that. But I kind of misread it. I didn't know that it was a survival game. Have any of you played Chernobyl Light? And if you have, what are your feelings on it? Because it's a well rated game. It's a highly rated game. Uh, so I'm going to dive some more into it when I have some uh, dedicated time to sit down for like a good chunk of hours to sit down because I have to do that. I can't. I'm not one of these people who can just jump on a game for 30 minutes. I cannot do that. Never have been able to. It just fucks me up when that happens because I'll just at 30 minutes, I'm now engrossed in the game. I'm like in a zone. I'm concentrating on the quest that I'm on. I know what I got to do, what my tasks are, all that. And then to have to stop, fuck that. No way. Can't do it. Now, some people, I got a buddy who can do that all day long. I got a buddy, Big John. We call him Big John. He can do that all day long. He can sit down in a game like that. He'll be 30 minutes into it. His wife calls him away or whatever. He has to go do he'll have to run to the store and shit. And come back and jump right back in where he was. I can't do that. Nope. I need to be able to sit down, concentrate, and put some time into the game, undisturbed. Now, so there's another topic there. Let me know how you guys are. Which camp are you in, or does it not matter to you? Does it not matter to you whether you can you just jump in and out of a game, regardless of how much time you can dedicate to it? Or are you like me where you got to have a certain amount of time? You got to know you're going to be able to play uninterrupted for like a couple of hours at least, because I'm definitely in the latter. So, and I've been that way for 40 years of gaming. So I'm not going to change. So thankfully I'm in the situation that I'm in now where I'm retired. My wife likes to work. She likes to go to work. It's she considered her social activity of the day is to actually go to work and cut hair and talk to people and do all that. And she loves it. So that works out perfectly. So you need a good hour at the minimum. Yeah. See, I would say that is the bare minimum. You were absolutely right, Colin. I would say that is the bare minimum. Yeah. Knowing that you've got to like run out, like you got an appointment or something. And like I was saying, my buddy, Big John, he can just sit down. He doesn't have to be anywhere for an hour and he'll just sit down and for 20 minutes, he'll just sit down to a game and start playing and then just stop and fucking off he goes. And it's like, no, I can't do that, dude. No. Hey, John. Yeah, we got quite a few of our regulars in here. We got John, Colin, Screw It, Steelguard, Chupa, Bastille. Yeah, it's good to see all you guys. So, am I the only one enjoying a beer tonight? Right. Now that is a caveat there. If I know that I have a very short period of time, then my game for that is if I want to just get in and just cause some havoc for half an hour, Team Fortress 2. Team Fortress 2, I can jump into that I can run a map, uh, uh, capture points or whatever, capture the flag, capture points, whatever it is. That's my game for that. If that's the situation, because I can't even do Counter Strike if I'm limited on time. Because Counter Strike, if you jump out, it fucks up your rating, and then you can't get back in. You get flagged as a quitter or whatever. But Team Fortress 2, you can just jump in and out if you want. It doesn't matter. You know. You're talking to a guy that's got. I've got over 1,000 hours on Team Fortress 2. I keep wanting to say Titanfall, god damn it, because we were talking about that. Um, Battlefield Bad Company 2 for hours on end back in the day. So now any of the Battlefield games, because it's been a while since I played a Battlefield game, remind me, that might be another one that I would be able to just jump into for half an hour and not worry about it, because it's just like you're just running maps basically on a rotation. Excuse me. And that would probably be another one I could do. Team Fortress Classic. Oh man, dude, you just sent me down a rabbit hole. So the guy I keep referencing, my gamer buddy, Big John, he's like a brother to me. We're like brothers from other mothers and all that stuff. So he and I found that game together because we both got. This might blow some minds here if anybody's old enough to remember this. But do any of you guys remember the orange box? So Big John and I, my buddy, we got the orange box at the same time. Now, the orange box, for those that don't know, was the original Half-Life when it came out, and you got Day of Defeat, which was a multiplayer game and set in the World War II era, the original Team Fortress Classic, Half-Life Deathmatch, and I know and the original Counter Strike, I believe, like the original, just CS, no, no, Counter Strike. What is it now? I can't even think of the operation, whatever it is now. But the original Counter Strike was the orange box, and is one of the greatest bang for your buck items to ever appear in gaming. The orange box. You got so much content for I think it was $40 at that time. And so Team Fortress Classic, I loved. My favorite class to play in Team Fortress Classic was the spy. You had these bombs that part of your loadout, you had these bombs that you could throw that disoriented people. They were kind of like supposed to be like a flashbang idea, like the idea of a flashbang to disorient, but they were fucking cool because you'd throw these as people are chasing you as a spy, and you could throw these things, and if you got hit by one of these things as the enemy, what happened on the screen and all the shit that I can't even really describe it to you properly. Yeah, he knows what I'm talking about. Colin knows exactly what I'm talking about. Those stun grenades. That's putting it mildly, because all of a sudden, if you got hit by one of those, your screen would go fucking this way and that way, and go in and out of focus, and there'd be shit blowing up all around your character. And I mean, it was and you couldn't run straight. Like your character would run like your character was drunk. So you'd like end up going off into like you did the bat race. If anybody ever did a bat race where you had to do the thing where you put your head to the bat and spun around and all that, and then you had to try and run a straight line or whatever, that's what happened to you in the game. And no matter what you did with the keys, you were fucked. You're gonna run into a wall, whatever. And so as a thief, there goes my D&D roots right there. As a spy, you could, and you had this. If I remember, you had a pistol that shot like tranquilizer darts, too. So you had those two things, and you could stealth. And by far, that was the funnest class you could possibly play. Yeah, and was there like That's right, and then if you, they would run around you, you couldn't you'd see, like, double and all that shit. I'm it's been so long, I can't remember all of it, but, um, so as a spy, you could run in and stealth and set down a bomb. There were bombs that you could set to blow shit up or something, if I remember correctly, and then they would chase you, and you could throw your stun grenade. It was a freaking blast, and when Team Fortress 2 came out, they changed the class. It wasn't the same. I can't play a spy now in Team Fortress 2 to save my life. You got this watch, which, depending upon the type of watch you're wearing, you can either go invisible, stealth, or you can do. There's a couple different things you can do, and then you can try and take the. You can try and disguise yourself. Oh, that was the other thing in Team Fortress Classic. You could disguise yourself as the other team. That was the other thing a spy could do. But the new spy, I just kept getting killed too easily because I missed those damn stun grenades. So, oh, that's right. You could, the spies could play dead too. That's right. Now Team Fortress Classic was a blast. Yeah, and you had this the engineer had this big ass bomb that once per round, like for a map, they could drop it once, I think. And me and my buddy Big John, we would get into the other team's camp in their base, and we would get up there and set up sentries. We'd both play engineers. We'd both set up sentries to defend ourselves, and then he would end up dropping that big ass bomb down the middle, which would destroy everything in the base, and then we would run out before it would blow up. And they took all got taken out with Team Fortress 2. So that too, yeah. I mean, that Team Fortress Classic was a shit ton of fun. But yeah, that orange box, by far one of the best bangs for your buck in all of gaming history, as far as I'm concerned. And I actually have the collector's edition that came with. It came with a hat. I've got the hat still. I'll have to. So like maybe the next live or the one after that, if I remember, I'll pull that out because those are rare. You can't really find those. It was called the Platinum Edition of the orange box, and they mailed you a box in the mail with all this physical shit. And yeah, so I will have to do that. So anyway, I don't know how we got off on that sidetrack, but we were talking about time and how much time you need to put in when you're going to do a session of gaming. But Chernobylite, the one thing that I don't like about it is that it has checkpoints. Now I don't know why they started that as a mechanic. If I remember correctly, the very first Far Cry and the very first Crysis were the two games that I remember first-person shooters that had fucking checkpoints instead of just being able to save the game when you wanted to, And they started that shit. And so like Chernobylite, even though it's a base build or it's a survival game with base building, if you're in the base and you build a bunch of shit and then you go to save it, it will still roll you back to when you first got to the base. And then you gotta clear everything again and all, and that to me makes no sense. That makes no sense to me. Someone's gonna need to explain that one to me. The developers should have had two different phases. If you're out on missions and stuff like that and you want to do checkpoints, no problem. I got it. I understand you want people to make a certain amount of progress. But if they're in the base doing base building and they spend a bunch of time base building and then they've got to log out, or let's say there's a power outage, whatever, and your computer gets shut down, whatever, there's no way to save the game. Like I have a uninterruptible power supply. So if the power goes out at my house, it goes on battery, and that gives me time, whatever game I'm in, to save the game, and then shut down my rig so I don't lose everything, right? Well, if that happened in Chernobylite, let's say I spend an hour doing base building shit, and then all of a sudden the power goes out and I go, oh shit, I better save. I can't in Chernobylite because no matter what I do, it's going to roll me back to the beginning of that base. because of this checkpoint system, and that left a sour taste in my mouth. So I'm trying to get past that to keep playing the game, because other than that, the game is very intriguing. It's got a from what I can tell, it's got a pretty good storyline, and I'm getting used to the mechanics and all that. But other than that, so anyway, I don't know if that. How do you guys feel about the checkpoint system versus being able to like quick save when you're in first person shooters and stuff? I know consoles, that was like the big thing for consoles, was it was always, I was almost sure it was always checkpoints, because the original consoles, I mean, now they have big ass hard drives and stuff like that, but the original consoles didn't have hard drives and stuff. So the checkpoint system made sense. But so I do own, John, I do own the first Stalker. I have not tried it yet. So Chernobylite was my first foray into that genre, that milieu, if you like. But I think I'm gonna have to. I may end up ditching Chernobylite and trying Stalker. So we'll have to see. Yeah, because I can't that when I'm doing base building and then you tell me I can't save the game, because I'm one of those, I'll spend time base building and all that, but I want to be able to save the work that I've done, and I get it if I'm out on a mission and they want to do that, but not in my base. So now, like Fallout, even with Fallout 4, even if you're on survival mode and you do a bunch of base building, you obviously have beds right there in your settlement. So all you got to do is run to a bed and hit sleep for an hour, and you at least save the game. So there's a mechanic there, and I tried to do that in Chernobyl. I thought, well, maybe I can just go to the bed and hit sleep, and it'll save the game. Nah. So, yeah, the Stalker games is definitely on my radar. I own the first one. I didn't buy the second one. There's a Christmas sale coming up. They just finished the autumn sale. So the Christmas sale, if I try Stalker between now and then, that checkpoint system would make me go nuclear. That's my point. That's what I'm saying, man. Doesn't make any sense, right? It. Yeah. So to me, that's a design flaw as far as I'm concerned. But so yeah, if I try Stalker between now and then, and I really like it, the first one, then I'll pull the trigger on the second one during the Christmas sale, because I'm sure it'll be on sale again. So let's see. Oh, now another. If the game has a creative element, it's unfair if you can't save. Bingo again. Bastille and Colin, both. You're right in line with what I'm saying. Yep. So, so there was a new, like this, I can't remember what, maybe the 11th expansion for EverQuest 2 came out yesterday, Visions of Vetrovia. And I bought it. And so whenever there's a new expansion for any MMO, we all know this, right? That the day that the expansion launches, whether it's World of Warcraft or any other game, whatever, there is no way the servers are going to be stable for the first day. Nope. We all know it, right? So sure enough, it was supposed to be down for 6 hours for them to do the update for the expansion and all that. So I just happened to go on and I checked the forums. I always check the forums first. I don't even bother trying to get in the game. I checked the forums. And sure enough, it went over the 6 hours or whatever. And then when it finally was supposed to come up, it came up for a bit. I did chores and different shit. I've been watching The Next Generation. I've been binge watching Star Trek Next Generation to try and get, because I never watched it originally. So I'm damn near done with it now. And so then I came back again, and it had come back up. The servers had come up, and magically it said emergency downtime because they were up for a bit and then they crashed. And so sure enough, so they didn't come up till like midnight last night or whatever. So I'd already gone to bed or whatever. But I had gone on the forums and I told everybody because everybody was like, it was like their first time or something. It's like they were all bitching and complaining about, that the servers weren't up. They were supposed to be up. They were only supposed to be 6 hours, blah, blah, blah. And so I just got on and I said, hey, with any MMO, not just EverQuest 2 or anything, any MMO, new expansion, do not expect the servers to be stable for the first day. Get on your Steam library, clear up some old games that you wanted to try for a while. Do that. Don't even think about getting on your MMO the first 24 hours when there's an expansion. And I was surprised how much pushback I got on that. And it's like, I don't know if you guys are new to MMOs or whatever, but that's just the way it is. It's, sure, they beta test everything and all that, but once it goes live and it gets hammered with all that people logging in and everything, it's a whole different thing. They don't, now if they did a stress test, that's a different story, but they don't, EverQuest 2 is old, so there's no reason for them to really have to do a stress test. So anyway, I thought that was interesting that, all these people were still freaking out after all these years of MMOs going through this. World of Warcraft, I expected, because you get, kids in there that, no matter what, they're going to complain. It doesn't matter, nothing would ever be good enough for them. They're going to complain. And that is a given. But like something like EverQuest 2 has an older fan base. It's like, come on, you guys should know that by now, but I also know that because Mistra, and you guys all know Mistra because she's in here quite a bit. She's in Europe, so I'm guaranteed she's sleeping right now, but or she's playing Final Fantasy 14 because they just had I think the same day. I think it was yesterday. Maybe it was the day before they got theirs. They got a new expansion, and she was on Twitter today, talking about queues. So it sounds like they've got sign-in queues for Final Fantasy 14. So my guess is, actually, I'm going to say she's probably playing that. She's probably not sleeping right now. My guess is she's playing that. So it'd be interesting to see when when I do my Sunday live, because she usually pops in for the Sunday one. Timing wise, that's better for her. It'll be interesting. I'll be able to ask her if they had stability issues with Final Fantasy 14 for the new expansion, because I'll be shocked if they didn't. Not because I have low expectations of Square Enix or Final Fantasy 14, the game, just because the nature of doing an expansion and putting it live. So we'll see. All right, guys. So that is the topics that I wanted to cover. We are playing here tomorrow night, our Giants campaign. So there will be an update after that. I'll probably talk about it a little bit on Sunday. And I may sometimes, depending on how I feel, the Saturday following, because I genuinely, after talking for 5 hours, nonstop DMing, the next day I'm usually pretty wiped. But if I feel like it and my voice is okay, I can always do a video on Saturday with the recap. But I usually say, that's why I say the update will be done by Monday at the latest. Because if Saturday my voice is thrashed and I'm beat, I take Saturday off. I do a live for you guys on Sunday, and then I can either cover it during the live or I do a separate video. But it all has to, we'll have to wait and see. So, so we've got that. I did. So whether or not you guys would be interested, there's a guy named Nathan Napalm. That's his channel, who is doing EverQuest 2 content. And he's getting quite a bit of views. I'm surprised how many views he's getting. And he's in a guild, and he likes to do the dungeons and raids and stuff with his guildies and all that. And I'm a solo player. So I put a note on one of his videos. I was like, I think I might just start a new character and do a Let's Play series of EverQuest 2, and do that and show all the solo, because that's all I do is the solo stuff. So if you guys are interested, I might be doing that, because I'm enjoying the shit out of the game again, and I don't see myself jumping on New World again anytime soon. So I might be doing that. I don't know yet, but so I think that's all the topics I wanted to cover. We went over the little show and tell thing here. We went over Chernobylite. We went over the gaming news stuff. EverQuest 2, Titanfall, the Titanfall news. What else? I think that's pretty much it. Let's see. Let me look up here, make sure I didn't miss anything here. I really didn't think that we would ever get into a Team Fortress Classic topic as part of one of these lives. I never thought that would happen, but it sure did. So, let's see here. I don't think I missed anything else. So, anybody got any questions? Anybody got any topics they want to talk about? Does anybody want to talk about Hawkeye, the MCU show on Disney Plus, Hawkeye? I think that's that one, and saw the Legend of the Ten Rings, Shang-Chi, and what was the other one? Yeah, Shang-Chi and Hawkeye both. We're not quite caught up on Hawkeye yet, but I'm enjoying Hawkeye. I don't know. I've heard some people don't like it. I'm easy to please when it comes to franchises I like. I had a bit of good luck. My house guest gave me an ultra-wide monitor. Well, I would say that's a good stroke of luck right there. Shit, yeah. Congrats, man. But I will say that with franchises that I like, the one exception, and it surprised the hell out of me, was, so you had the original, you had the Lord of the Rings movies that Peter Jackson did, the epic, 10 hours worth or whatever. If you get the extended editions, like 10 hours worth or whatever it is. And then he did the Hobbits. And I will say, I was surprisingly disappointed in the Hobbits, because here's a franchise that I was over the moon for. And then his versions of the Hobbits came out, and I don't know what happened there, but I'm not saying I won't watch him again. I mean, I will, if I ever binge watch that whole thing again. I will I will go chronologically. I'll go through the Hobbits and then into the Lord of the Rings. But there were some weird choices and decisions and things that they made with those movies, contrasting what he did with the Lord of the Rings trilogy. It was just, that one completely fucked me up, But other than that, I mean, I pretty much, with franchises that I like, I'm pretty forgiving. That one was a tough pill to swallow, but my wife liked Hawkeye, but I don't care for it too much. I want to watch the old Robin of Sherwood from the 80s. That one, and Grizzly Adams. Wow, there's a throwback. Grizzly Adams. So Bastille is talking about a show called Grizzly Adams. For those that, if there's anybody in here that, or watching it on replay, that doesn't know what he's talking about, Grizzly Adams was an old TV show, I want to say late 70s, early 80s, that had this great big actor with a beard like mine. I mean, What would you say, Bastille? Was it? I mean, I'm not talking about the white. I'm not talking about the color. I'm talking about the amount and the size of the beard. Probably about like mine. Um, and his character was called Grizzly Adams, and he wanted to go out in the woods and build a cabin and live out in the woods. That was his dream, was to go out there and do that. And he had a pet grizzly. Somehow, I can't remember how he did it because it was 30, 40 fucking years ago, whatever. But he ended up with a pet grizzly bear. I can't remember if he raised it from a cub or whatever, and that's why they called him Grizzly Adams. So yeah, I just couldn't remember if this was, or if it was even, if his was even more big, bushier, and in more volume than mine. But I think this is pretty accurate to what he had. But his wasn't white. His was like dishwater blonde or what, because he wasn't, he was probably in his 40s, the actor at the time. So, and he had a pet grizzly bear. But at the time of the show, we're watching, if I remember, it's a full-grown grizzly bear by that time. And so the show is all about his adventures. And he had like a prospect, an old guy that was a prospector or something. That was a friend of his that was like his supply guy, would bring like him supplies and shit like that. And it was all about his adventures out there in the woods with the grizzly bear, living in the log cabin and all that stuff. And it was a great show. My dad and I watched that fucking religiously. We watch Grizzly Adams every week. Yep, guaranteed. So if anybody's wondering, that's what he's talking about. Shit, I had forgotten. I hadn't really. I shouldn't say I'd forgotten about it, but I hadn't thought about Grizzly Adams in a long time. I don't even know if it's on any streaming services. So you got the discs. So that's probably a stroke of luck right there, because I'm not sure it's even on any streaming services. So, but anybody that watched that show, nobody that watched that show can deny that they have had thoughts at times in their lives of doing the same exact goddamn thing. And I'll bet Bastille will agree with me in the comments. If you watch that show, like not just one episode, but if you watched that show, there isn't a person that did that didn't at some point in their life say, you know what, fuck it, I just want to go disappear, go into the woods and build a goddamn log cabin and get away from people. There isn't a person that watched that show that yeah, Ben was the bear's name. That is correct. Yep, that is correct. Ben was the bear's name. Oh god, that was a good show. But yeah, so just from watching that show, there's been times in my life where, you know, your work is pissing you off, your personal life's pissing you off, whatever, and you're just like in your truck or you're in your car or whatever, and you're like, you know what? I could just disappear. I could just drive till I reach the mountains and go up some dirt road and decide, you know what, I'm gonna take some money and buy some supplies, and I'm just gonna go up into the woods and I'll build a goddamn log cabin, and I'm gonna get the hell away from human beings. You know, so was it connected to Gentle Ben? Now that's a good question. Now you're really making me think now, because Gentle Ben was a different bear, right? There was a show called Gentle Ben about a grizzly bear, if I remember correctly. Damn, that's gonna make me look that up on Wikipedia when we're done with all this. I'm gonna have to check that out. I wouldn't be surprised if there wasn't some connection there. So, but yeah, that, and so Bart the bear, Bart 2, just died, and that's the grizzly bear, I believe, was the bear in Grizzly Adams. It was that bear's son was Bart 2, which would mean that Bart, the bear actor, from Grizzly Adams, was the first Bart. Bart 2 just died, and he was the one that was in a bunch of different other movies and stuff like that. BJ and the Bear was a weird end of the trilogy. Yeah, there was some weird, funky stuff, but you know, how did a monkey get involved, right, Colin? You know, Um, you know, how did it go from a bear to a monkey? I mean, there's some plot holes there, dude. BJ and the bear. That's a if you don't know, BJ and the Bear was a different show completely about a truck driver who had a pet monkey that he called Bear uh, in his truck that went everywhere with him in his truck. And so Colin's trying to fucking do conspiracy, connection shit, here, and just somehow it it went from a bear to a monkey. I definitely fantasize about having a pet monkey. See, now I didn't watch enough of that show, BJ and the Bear. If I had, I probably would have done the same thing. Um, the show that I watched that when I think of TV shows that had a monkey on them, Friends, Ross had Marcel, which was a little spider monkey in that show, and if anything would have made me say, "Hey, that'd be cool to have a pet monkey," it would have been Friends, because I watched a lot more of that than I did BJ and the Bear. So polymorph, there you go. Bastille, you just solved it. You just solved it, man. There. So what they missed there was they missed a crossover episode. They missed They should have had a crossover episode with the forest wizard that cast polymorph on the fucking bear. It turned him into a monkey. God damn it, they missed that. They missed that crossover episode. And then you could have had the truck driver, BJ. You could have had him doing logging. He could have been driving through the area, through the forest, with a logging truck, and that's how you tied in the forest wizard turns the bear into the monkey, and the monkey ends up in the logging truck, and then BJ ends up at a city where he turns in and starts hauling the other shit. Yeah, I mean it all makes sense, man. It's all there if you connect the fucking lines, right? Um, Chuck Norris as the forest warrior. It's all there, man. I mean, see, now you see, if they'd have had all of us, if they had Colin, Bastille, me, if they had all of us back then doing the writing, fuck, can you imagine? Can you imagine the franchise we could have built with all these ideas? This is what, in 10 minutes we came up with all this shit? God, it would have been epic. Damn, we missed our Colin, guys. Shit. Yeah, sounds like a reboot. There you go. Maybe we should stop talking about it before somebody else fucking takes our ideas and makes $1 million and we're all asked out, right? Shit. That was awesome. we just we just wrote an epic uh, uh, tale of from Grizzly Adams to Gentle Ben to we didn't work Gentle Ben in there, but Gentle Ben would have been the prequel. Gentle Ben would have been the prequel, right? Because that's how. So Grizzly Adams didn't get Ben as a cub. No, somehow Gentle Ben ended up in the forest, where Grizzly Adams or somebody gave him to Grizzly Adams. Somebody said, "Hey, I can no longer take care of Gentle Ben here," and he was going to live in the woods anyway. So you go Gentle Ben, Grizzly Adams, BJ and the Bear trilogy right there. But yeah, yeah, we either I've drank too much beer or not enough. So, um, anyway, guys, we're at an hour, so I guess I can't think of any more topics I want to cover tonight. Anybody else got anything else they want to throw in here? So Bastille, did you stomp out another person that was uh, spamming shit in here? I see you deleted another one. Was that another person doing some trolling? If so, I appreciate it, man. It's nice having. I never thought about that when I watch other like channels. Um, that I always thought about, they got moderators. I'm like, why do they need moderators? I'm like, it's not that hard to just, you know, watch what's going on and all that. Thanks, Bastille. Um, but it's actually harder than you think, because you get into in your idea what you want to talk about, and you want to pay attention to the camera, all that, and concentrate on what words you want to use and what order you want to put them in and all that. And sometimes you can't be watching the chat while you're doing it. And it's so nice to have some moderators to just take care of that shit. That's fantastic. So, all right, guys. Well, that was another good live. Um, so we'll do our game back here tomorrow. It's probably going to be epic. Because they're at the crescendo of this particular part of the campaign. So I have a feeling that the recap that you guys are going to see is going to be epic. So we can look forward to that. It could be done Saturday. It may be Sunday during the live, and it may wait till Monday, depending upon how I'm feeling and how much there is to cover. So that's the next thing to look forward to, guys, is the recap or the live or a combination of both or whatever. And until then, we will catch you guys on the flip side. Have a good night, guys.